I think we're streaming. Welcome, everyone, hopefully, to the Down the Middle podcast, everyone's 23rd favorite wrestling podcast. As always, I am your host, Jake, and I am joined by the ever dapper, fantastic, orgasmic Ben.
Hey, I like that. The sexlence and sexecution, if you will.
Yes. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you? Did you say the 23rd most listened wrestling podcast of all time?
I mean, I'm assuming.
No. Well,
we're not their favorite yet because they may not have started listening yet.
Well, you're right. But we should always be everybody's favorite.
Because we bring the good shit.
You're right.
Speaking of shit, we're going to go over Full Gear, which was not shit. It was really good for the most part. But WWE has another round of releases this week. And timing was actually perfect for us. Where the fuck? There it is. Sorry, I'm getting the Twitch up so that I can see if anyone is commenting or not. Just going to get that pulled up and then... Cool. Right on. Alrighty, so the WWE releases.
And I read this time this was budget cuts, even though it's like they make money. They make money. So there's something else.
The WWE is kind of turning into the government where like they keep saying the same thing, but you know it's bullshit.
Well, the last one was budget cuts plus they were saying vaccinations and everything else too. What's it's like?
Maybe, but whatever. It's not budget cuts. They have been posting record profits,
right,
in the company's history. So the biggest one was John Morrison, which I saw coming when they released Taya.
Yes.
I'm willing to bet he might have even asked for his release.
I mean, when he came back and everything, I'm like, they'll probably put Miz and Morrison back together and everything. Sure enough, they did, but
which should have been good, and yet they managed to completely fuck it up.
Right, they turned it into a joke, unlike the first run that they had.
Like the first one was funny, but they weren't the butt of the joke. Like they were telling the jokes.
Right.
And this go around and like the Johnny drip shit, like I cannot believe like they had to have paid him a lot of money.
Well, drip and all that stuff, that's part of the new talk.
Yeah, I know. I get it, but I just can't see somebody like who's had the career of John Morrison, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Impact, Johnny wherever he happens to be.
Johnny Mundo.
Johnny Mundo, yep, which is probably my favorite. I was listening to Jim Cornette just a minute ago. It's like, so do you think he's going to be Johnny Rampage or Johnny Dynamite? You know what? You know what he should do? And I'm going to call this shit Johnny Elite.
I like that.
I like it. Either that or just go by his actual name, John Hennigan. But I kind of like Johnny Elite.
He won't go by John Hennigan.
Yeah, I know.
Why?
Well, right. He hasn't up to this point either. He might go back to Johnny Mundo though because of AEW's partnership with AAA and Impact. Oh, I guess he was Johnny Impact in Impact, but I kind of dig the idea where it's like he always takes on the last name of wherever he's wrestling.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was Johnny Mundo in Lucha Underground.
And in AAA. Basically, when he was in Mexico, he was going by Johnny Mundo.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is Spanish for world, for those that don't know.
Well, here's the thing, though. And obviously, we all know that The Miz is doing Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
So, this just proves right there that when Miz comes back, he'll have nothing to do because they set up the feud for Miz and Morrison to do before something happened to Miz, whatever they did, get him off TV to go do Dancing with the Stars.
Yep.
And then he was going to come back. I figured they would have finally actually feuded and actually do their feud.
Which, holy crap, how good would that have been?
Right.
So good.
Right.
But in true WWE fashion, they're like, oh, this is going to be great. Nah, let's not do that. Or let's fuck it up. Kind of like how they did with Shinsuke and AJ Styles. Because I guarantee you, they told them, like, they didn't let them wrestle the kind of match they wanted. And why do I think that? Because they've wrestled that kind of match before, recently.
Right.
And they were probably like, oh, no, you can't do that. That's too much. You're going to make Cena look bad. Really? I'm not trying to dog on Cena. I'm just... Because Cena, like, I really think, too, that if they would take the shackles off Cena, that he could have some much better matches.
Well, when he was feuding with Owens, he was actually having some really good matches.
You're right. I saw a couple of those. I think that's preservation on the part of John Cena. Both him and the company are like, yeah, you don't need to be out there doing crazy stuff because we want you on the road all the time, which I get. But I think their schedule's unreasonable. It's not conducive to good television wrestling.
Well, you got 2 live shows a week,
right?
Plus you got three days of live events.
Yep.
Plus, when it comes to the weekend of pay-per-view, that would mean that you would start working on Friday. You got live event on Saturday, and then pay-per-view on Sunday.
Raw on Monday.
Raw on Monday.
Yeah.
And then you got your days off in the middle of the week because they don't really have live shows during the middle of the week.
They don't? I thought they did. Maybe they changed it.
Well, they did. They had to have because people actually. But when SmackDown was on Tuesdays, the live events would be Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
But if they didn't have a pay-per-view on Sunday, they'd do a live event on a Sunday too.
Right. Which because I even said, like, I don't remember if I said it on this podcast, but I'd said it before, like right when AEW was starting. Actually, I said this before AEW started, but I kind of reinforced it. It's like if you focus on the TV, it's a win-win because, like, do you really need live events? Like, I wonder how much money they actually make when you, like, take out the cost of renting the building and the security and, like, when you take the gate minus the cost of putting on the event, I'd wager to say they probably don't make as much as you would think.
Well, I've never been to a live event when it comes to WWE. But I know, like, when you go to I've seen pictures and stuff for a live event for WWE, it's half the crowd.
Yeah, because, like, well, and that's the other thing, too. That's what I mean. Like, I'm even talking, like, theoretically a full capacity crowd because they're tending to do smaller venues for live events. And there's less interest because you can pretty much guarantee that, except on a very rare occasion, nothing interesting is going to happen at a live event.
Right. I like back in the day when you would have a title change in a live event, which was by accident, or you...
Like, it can happen, but right. It's statistically not likely. Like, I kind of have a rule where, right now I'm not going to any WWE shows, but used to. It's like I wouldn't go. I'd go for TVs and pay-per-views, but I would never go for a live event because nothing was going to happen.
Well, and that's the same thing with like, I'll just use TNA as an example. I've been to 2 house shows for TNA, and the first one I went to, it was good. It was a good show. Like, Kurt Angle was the main event against Samoa Joe and everything for the world title and all that stuff. You got this is when what was it? Prince AJ.
Yeah.
With Christian Cage and all of them. And it was a really good show. And I watched that over in Ohio. And then went over to Illinois, watched the TNA show there because for some reason Indiana can't get TNA. Well, we almost did, but then they had to cancel that because of Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
But I watched it over there, and I'm like, oh, God, this TNA show is terrible. And they didn't draw nothing.
Right.
It's like, I get that they're trying to do house shows so workers can actually make their money on their contracts and everything. I get that part, but it's like,
I mean, I guess here's my logic, and I mean AEW's doing it, so I know it'll work. Like, for your big stars, you're paying them enough to where it's in your best interest to make sure that they can be healthy for the main shows where you're making your money. In this case, being television and pay-per-view, and then your up and coming wrestlers, most of them are allowed to do independents, but they're still being paid well for the level that they're at. So they can preserve their bodies, or if they want to make some extra money, most of them can go do indies. Oh, hell, even Moxley's allowed to do actually, I think most people are allowed to do indies if they want to. Or again, if you're lower talent, because of their working relationships with AAA, Impact, and New Japan, you know, if somebody's not being used on AEW television, they can easily, you know, be sent, hey, or like go. I don't think they have an official relationship with GCW, but it's obviously friendly because they've had Nick Gage on Dynamite, and Mox is doing, you know, the stuff with GCW, and Janela is too affiliated with them.
Who?
Joey Janela.
Who?
Oh, right. Because we haven't seen him. He disappeared. Well, he used to be before he disappeared.
Right.
No, he came back though. Now he's with that. I forget her name. The girl with the like orange hair. I think it was orange or pink or something like that.
Yeah.
That was weird.
He came back for a hot minute because he's separated from Sonny Kiss, which is like, who's Sonny Kiss?
Well, I mean, let's be real. How long can that gimmick realistically go, and how successful can he be doing that kind of such a niche type character?
Characters like that, and I'm sorry, and everything, and I'm going along with what you're saying. I don't mind the gimmick and everything. It's characters like that is what's used for dark elevation.
Correct. And it's a real shame because Sonny Kiss is really good.
Yes.
Like, I really wish that they don't even need to tone the character down necessarily. They just need to stop making that the emphasis. So kind of like how they've handled Nyla Rose. Like, they know Nyla Rose is trans, but they don't really talk about it. Like, everyone knows, but it's not important because of what they're doing with the character.
Right.
Like,
I get it. I totally get what you're saying.
But with Sonny Kiss, I don't know. I think I'm not. I don't want to say blaming him, but like, it's kind of his fault because even when he was in Lucha Underground, you know, it's the same presentation. Like, it's the character, the gimmick is too loud and it overshadows his incredible athletic talent. So I would actually not be opposed to seeing a bit of a wardrobe change, make it a little bit less over the top, which I get it. That's who he is, and that's more power to you. I'm just talking about to appeal to a wide mainstream television audience and showcase your strengths other than your uniqueness, which it's there. Like, like maybe the booty shorts and the crop top is not the way to go for you. You know, nobody's saying you can't wear pink or something like that.
No.
Nobody's telling him what to do. It's just, to me, it seems like if you want to get over with that type of audience, and they like Sonny. Like, Sonny never gets booed, at least not that I can hear.
Nope. He's real liked.
And you get, the name's not bad. I mean, it's right. It's in the same vein as Gorgeous George. You know, but right now, as he is today, I just can't. I can't even see like Sonny Kiss TNT champion. Well, maybe. But I certainly can't see AEW World Heavyweight Champion Sonny Kiss.
No.
I just can't see it. And that's not taking away anything from him. It's just in the presentation.
Right.
Which I feel the same way about Orange Cassidy too. Like, Orange Cassidy, I love Orange Cassidy, but AEW champion Orange Cassidy just doesn't.
That's why some people are fit to, as much as, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but because it's like, because, you know, I've done this and everything. It's like, I could see people who could be world champion, and because if you get in the wrestling business, everybody knows what the wrestling business is, yada 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 about, it's all work.
Wait, it's not real. It's real to me, damn it.
I know. Any sport you get in, you want to be the world champion. It's true, but there's certain people that can not get to that status, but they could be a champion in another realm.
Danhausen. Oh, man. Must have my strep coming back.
But I digress.
There's a nice awkward silence for the audio listeners.
Yeah.
Anyway, so going back on Isaiah Swerve Scott, which that kind of surprised me. I mean, it does and it doesn't, because right when I'm like, they were putting a lot behind him. Oh, but it's WWE, so
you might as well just put it as the whole hit row right there.
Well, I mean, essentially,
right? All three of them that got released.
Yeah, he was the third one, right?
No, they released BFAB,
right?
And now they just released the rest of the group.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Isaiah,
because Top Dollar was next, and Ashante, Adonis. So yeah, they all got released.
Right, and that sucks for them because I just read a report last night that they had just done a whole bunch of stuff like for video games and figures and all that, and now it's not going to come to fruition.
Well, you know what would be really shitty of WWE to do, which I think they would still get royalties for this, but it depends on their contract. If WWE still went ahead with the action figures and the video game content anyway after they released them, I'm waiting. They're going to do it. Guarantee they're going to do it.
I don't think they will. Only reason being is why I say this,
because they'd have to send them royalty checks.
Right. Plus, it was the whole thing with Sting. When Sting left, they had figures already made up, ready to go for him. They just hadn't. They were like prototypes, or not even prototypes yet, but they were, on the computer, and I've seen images on the figures of what they're going to look like. Courtesy of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast.
Where can they check them out?
Check them on YouTube. Check them on Twitch. Check them on everything.
Just like
social media.
Just like the Down the Middle podcast.
You're right.
YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Anchor. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to the Down the Middle podcast. Bored at work? Listen to the Down the Middle podcast.
You're right.
Your wife driving you crazy? Just open your YouTube app. Watch the Down the Middle podcast. Are you unsure of what to get your friends and family for the holidays? Well, guess what? You can tell them about the Down the Middle podcast, and it's free. Or you can get them some excellent Average Intelligence / Arte Media / Down the Middle podcast merchandise that is linked in the store below. Anyway, where were we going? Oh yeah, the Sting action figures.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
I'm really learning from Jim Cornette because some of his ad spots are the funniest things I've ever heard. What was my favorite one? Because they're sponsored by Manscaped, and I love it's like Brian, you want to know what's worse than being released by the WWE? Cutting your balls when you're trying to shave them. And that is why we are sponsored by Manscaped with the Lawnmower 2.0. It's good shit. Anyway, the Sting action figures.
There's a lot of people sponsored by them. Anyways, Sting, they were supposed to release some Sting figures, and then all of a sudden, Sting left WWE.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, because that's when he was going to AEW. And like, oh, Sting left. So now we're not going to release his figures.
They were still releasing his merch, though, right?
I think they're releasing the stuff on WWE Shop, yes.
Right.
But some of these figures are supposed to be like Ultimate Edition Stings or WCW Sting figures that like hadn't been released yet or people hadn't seen yet. It's like, oh, now we can get these figures. And they stopped.
And now we never will.
You're right.
You would think they'd be able to work something out with that though, because I don't think Sting would necessarily. I mean, not when he's under contract to AEW, obviously, but maybe when he officially retires, they'll ink out a deal.
The only thing he'd want to ink out a deal with WWE is if he wrestles The Undertaker. That's the only thing he wants to do.
Well, that ain't happening, so. Wouldn't that be fucked up? It would never happen, but wouldn't that be fucked up if Taker showed up at AEW?
That'd definitely never happen.
Yeah, no, that's not even. Yeah, that's never going to happen.
I mean, don't you realize he got, right before COVID happened, he signed a new contract for like 25 years.
He's a Legends guy. Yeah, he's under a Legends contract, right?
No, it's a workers contract.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I mean, he made Vince McMahon a lot of fucking money over the years.
Workers contract, you make more money than Legends.
Interesting. So anyway, back to the releases. I already mentioned Top Dollar, Ashante the Adonis, and then next, this one did surprise me a bit, was Tegan Knox.
Yeah, a lot of people were shocked about that one.
Well, because they were using her so much in NXT 1.0, which was technically 2.0. So technically we're in NXT 3.0.
But then again, soon it'll be 4.0.
Yeah, that's true.
She is a really good worker.
Yeah, no, I always enjoyed her matches for the most part. If she wasn't in there with a complete stinker, it was usually good.
Hell, I'll even tell you this right now. As soon as her 90 days is up, I could see her
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll probably end up in AEW. I could see that. Someone else who's probably going to end up in AEW, probably. Rockstar Spud's coming to AEW. And you know what? This is, because I saw his Twitter post. I know that he's sad because he's been fired from WWE twice now. Dude, I'm going to call you Rockstar Spud now because Drake Maverick was a stupid fucking name. But like, you're good. You're going to be fine, dude.
You say All Elite, I say Impact.
I could see him going to Impact. Because can you imagine the pop that a returning Rockstar Spud will get?
That's why I say that.
Dust off your bow tie, good sir. You're going back to Impact.
I actually seen him live once. And it was actually for OVW.
Oh, okay.
Because OVW actually did a show here in Shelbyville.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
At the actual fair. Local county fair.
I feel like I remember that. That was a while ago.
It was 8 years ago. And I only know that because that was before I had my son in it. Anyways, he wrestled in the main event here in Shelbyville against Dylan Bostic for the television title.
I don't know about friend of the channel. Is Dylan Bostic a friend of the channel?
He knows of the channel.
Friend of the co-host, certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friend of the co-host.
We need to get him on here.
Gotta get him out of his busy schedule with.
Oh, I know. I hear he's busy. Acting? What's he acting in?
I actually made a movie.
Really?
Yes.
Plug that shit.
I would if I knew it was actually called.
We will plug that shit on the next episode.
And he's actually boxing too for I don't want to butcher it, but I think CBE Entertainment, something like that.
You heard it here. You heard it here, folks. Movie star, professional wrestler, and boxing legend in the making, Dylan Bostic.
The man who can't beat Ryback with an inch of his life.
Oh, my God.
He faced Ryback in a handicap match on SmackDown as Brendan Burke, and then he fought him on the Indies as him. Nope, can't beat him.
Well, he's hungry.
He's hungry. But yeah, they had a match there at the show and everything. I'm like, holy crap, this match was awesome.
Yeah, the Dylan Bostic match that I recorded, him versus Scotty Young at EWF, I was like, that's a hell of a show opener. It was really good.
Scotty Young. I haven't heard that name forever.
Yep, good old Scotty Young.
And Jake Oman.
Yep. Jake Oman was in the main events against the one badass Billy Gunn.
That was the XA tournament.
No, not this one. I think they faced each other again, but this was EWF Resurrection. It was just a singles match.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you're right.
Anyway, and then there's two other names that nobody gives a shit about. We got Shane Thorne and Jackson Riker. I don't even know who the fuck they are.
Hey,
who are they?
I like Jackson Riker.
Who is he?
Gunner.
Who?
Gunner.
Okay.
When did you stop watching TNA?
I was never hardcore into TNA.
Okay. He was in TNA when Immortal started.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Gunner. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we care about him.
Shane Thorne, I don't remember who he was. Sorry about that. I apologize.
It's not your fault. It's WWE's fault because we should know who all these people are.
You're right. Jackson Riker, Gunner, as I know him as.
Well, he's Gunner now.
Well, if he doesn't go back to Impact, okay, I see him going to the NWA.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I always say that because he had a good prominence on the NWA rankings before he went to Impact. And then, so he's the one that's more fit bred of NWA power.
Gotcha.
Look at the plug I just put there.
There you go. We're plugging everything today. We're like a sinking ship.
Hey, I'm the boat. The boat doesn't sink. The boat does not sink with me here.
Oh, God. I should do this tired more often. We're on a roll. Anyway, we'll switch gears to Full Gear. That was an accident. That was an accident.
Hey, I like that.
That was switching gears to Full Gear. We had a pre-show match, which I will admit I didn't watch the whole thing because I was having a lot of trouble with Bleacher Report. Guys, I figured out the problem. If you are trying to watch Bleacher Report on an Amazon Fire Stick, it will glitch like no tomorrow. Don't even try it. There's just something about... I have ungodly fast internet. They require 3 megabits per second, I think she said. I had like 120, and it was still like freezing and skipping and all that shit. So what I did, though, and this will only work if you have a smart TV and an iPhone or some other appropriate app, but if you use the Bleacher Report app on your phone and then you screen share it to your smart TV, you'll have zero problems.
That's stupid.
I know. It's some weird thing that like they're working on it because it was the same way for All Out for me. Like that was just a pain in the ass. And it's the same thing for the replay too. But the minute I switched over to my phone and put the phone on the TV, or I guess if you've got a TV with an HDMI input and a laptop, you could do it that way too, as long as your laptop has an HDMI out. But I digress. Just don't even bother with the Amazon Fire Stick. It won't work. But I was having problems with it, so I didn't see this whole match. But from what I saw of it, it was good. I mean, Thunder Rosa was in it. Shida was in it because it was Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa against Jamie Hayter and Nyla Rose. Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa came out with the win. But it was a good match from what I could see. You know, good opener. And then the actual pay-per-view kicks off with what might arguably have been the best match of the night, which was the best wrestling match of the night, as Jim Cornette said. MJF versus Darby Allin. This was really good because both guys surprised you. They started off wrestling. I mean, it was solid. MJF showed a little bit more athleticism than normal, and Darby showed a little bit more technical wrestling. I don't want to say technical skill because that implies that he doesn't have, like, Darby can wrestle, but he usually does more of the car crash kind of stuff. But I mean, fuck, it was great.
This man got to watch it that night. I didn't get to watch. I was busy with other stuff, it sucks on my end. But I know how good they both wrestle.
Oh yeah, they were. It was good.
My only problem is obviously people has been watching AEW since then. I just wish they would have kept their feud going.
Oh, Darby and MJF?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way because now MJF has switched over to Punk.
Yeah.
Which I think is too soon.
And I agree.
I would have because I mean, geez, you could have any of the four pillars of AEW. You could have feuds with them going on for a year, easy.
And I agree.
Just because there's something there, because right out of the gate, you have a storyline there already. Okay, which of the four pillars is the best? Which one's the future of AEW? Like, which one's going to lead AEW's next generation? Who's gonna be the Cena of AEW going forward?
And out the four pillars is Darby, MJF, Jungle Boy, and who's the fourth?
Sammy Guevara.
That's right.
Now, arguably, I guess you could argue that Adam Page should have been part of that, but I get it because he was already...
He's already known.
Yeah.
He's already known because of the Elite and everything else.
Exactly. So that's why he's not included there. But you got all four of those guys were not unknown, but virtually from a mainstream television audience perspective, they were unknown. Like, I knew who Sammy Guevara was, and I knew who MJF was from MLW.
Well, Sammy Guevara also worked Impact too.
That's how I knew who he was.
Yeah.
And I saw the first match of his I ever saw at first because he came out with a panda on his head. I'm like, this is fucking goofy. And then he started wrestling, and I'm like, okay, I'm a fan.
And the thing is too is like two of them has already been TNT champion.
Mm-hmm.
Darby has and
Sammy now.
Sammy now.
And then MJF is the they're booking them all so well because MJF is the two-time Dynamite Diamond Ring winner, right. And Jungle Boy is the first AEW wrestler to get what is it 100 wins or 50 wins?
100.
And won the Beat the Clock challenge against Jericho.
Right.
So they're all being booked exceptionally well.
But what I was about to say is, out of all four of them, MJF will be world champion.
Well, yeah, 100%. Probably first, if I had to guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other best part. So out of the four pillars, you have one guy who is a solid heel, and I can't imagine ever being a babyface. And then you've got another guy who's a solid babyface. I can't really ever see him being a heel. And then you've got two guys that could go either way, but one's more of a babyface and one's a little bit more of a heel. Like right now, all but MJF are babyfaces, but Sammy and Darby could theoretically go different ways. I guess Jungle Boy could be a heel, but I wouldn't buy it. The only way they could make Jungle Boy a heel, and they'd have to wait. I mean, he'd have to cut his hair because he'd have to do like the Hollywood shit. Be like, my dad was Luke fucking Perry, and I'm better than all you motherfuckers. But that's MJF's gimmick, so.
Right, but Jungle Boy is the one doing what he's doing and staying out of his dad's shadow.
Right, and I get that, and that's like he's automatically a babyface because of that.
And that's why I respect about him is like he's not using his dad's name to get himself over. But
I love that JR will refer to him as Jungle Boy Jack Perry because when he gets older, Like, he's not going to go by Jungle Man. He's probably going to go by Jack Perry. But by that time, you know, I don't want to say people will have forgotten his dad, but the younger generation won't know of his dad unless their parents expose them to it. And it's going to be in the minority. So by that time, probably by the time Jungle Boy's like in his mid to late 30s, he's probably going to be able to go by Jack Perry and not have a problem. And then maybe he could turn heel.
Well, but the people of the now know who know who his dad is because younger generations have watched that show Riverdale.
Yeah, I know.
Right, and he was on that too. So that's the reason why I'm saying that as well.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You can't do that now. Like, I get why he's going by Jungle Boy now. But if he's 40 years old, he can't go by Jungle Boy.
Well,
he'll have to be Jungle Man.
You're right.
Which I'm calling it. Jungle Boy could totally do a male stripper gimmick. When he's older, go by Jungle Man.
No.
Be a fucking heel.
No.
What, Joey Ryan did it.
Who?
Joey Ryan. Oh, yeah,
Who?
He disappeared too. Oh, Hangman killed him, but then he came back.
You're right.
I digress. The only thing, and I'm not even going to say I didn't like it. I think the execution could have been better, was the finish of the MJF Darby match. I liked what they were doing, where MJF gets the skateboard and tries to convince Darby to hit him with it so that he'd get disqualified.
Right.
But, like, I don't know.
And then they take the board away and he hits him.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? Well, okay, you don't have to use the skateboard, but he's down on his knees. Like, just kick him in the fucking face. I get it. I get what they were doing, though. Like I said, it's very minor. And it didn't really take me out of it, because at the time I was invested in the match. It was only afterward where I was thinking about it, and I was kind of like, why didn't you just kick him in the face? But I digress. It wasn't that important. Next, we moved on to a match that was overall very good, except the finish was so bad. So bad. It was the Lucha Brothers defending their AEW tag team titles against FTR. Good match. The finish it almost looked like a mistake. So long story short, and the other thing that annoyed me, and Jim Cornette pointed this out too, which was hilarious because I thought the same thing. There were like a solid 3 times during that match where if it had ended right there, it would have been fine. Like, it would have been great.
Okay.
But instead, the finish they chose to do, Penta and Dax were the legal men.
Uh-huh.
Dax and Cash both ended up out of the ring. They went under the ring. Cash comes up wearing the lucha mask from Las Superanas, my bad. So he's wearing the green mask and tries to get offense on Penta and pin him with his feet on the ropes. Ref catches it, breaks the count, and then Penta and Phoenix give him a finisher basically, and Penta pins Cash under the mask, and they retain their titles. But Cash wasn't the legal man. Now, what I think they're going to do is FTR is going to come back and say he didn't pin the legal man. We didn't lose that match. It was weird.
Well, yeah, they could do that because then, that, like I said to you before, is they could set up title for title.
Right, and I get that, but here's the problem. So after Penta pins Cash, and first of all, it's obvious because there's hair coming out of the back of the mask, and Dax is bald. Because they didn't tie the mask up. Obviously, they didn't have time. And this is why I think it was a mistake, because I think they were supposed to tie the mask up, but he couldn't get it. I lost my train of thought. So, but anyway, he gets in the ring, and the mask isn't fully done. And then Penta pins him, and then Penta takes the mask off. So it's Cash. It's obviously Cash. and Cash was not the legal man.
Right.
And the referee looks down at Cash and is just like, fuck it, they win.
Like I said, like if I had seen what you've seen, then I'm visualizing it right now, and I get what you're saying. But the only logical explanation I give to you is, like I said, they're setting up for that blow-off match.
Right, but that's why I think it was a mistake.
Right.
But I digress. Overall, good match. The finish was just a little...
blah.
Yeah, the finish was just a little blah. And kind of lackluster compared to the rest of the match. But anyway, then we move on to the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament final. Bryan Danielson versus Miro.
Miro.
It was a solid match. Really good match.
I'm sure they beat the crap out of each other.
They did, but they also did it in a way because, like, Bryan Danielson didn't look indestructible. And he was wrestling that way because, like, he wrestled in a way that made sense. Miro has the size and strength advantage, so Bryan is wrestling in that way. He's being fast. He's going in and out. He's trying to get submissions as opposed to power moves. It just anyone with a submission.
Which was the yes lock, I'm assuming, right?
He transitioned into something else that I had to do with his neck. I actually don't think it was the yes lock. I think it was. I don't remember. It just says technical submission. I don't think it was the yes lock though. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not the yes lock anymore. What is it? I can't remember.
It wasn't count of mutilation, was it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I digress.
Or Dragon Sleeper?
I think it was the Dragon Sleeper.
Huh.
I think. I don't know. Somebody can fact check me in the comments.
All right.
But I digress again. Oh, crap. Where did...
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Something's going on.
I lost the YouTube chat on accident. Just making sure. Don't want to leave anybody hanging. Okay, we're back. Anyway, next match, we move on to Jurassic Express and Christian Cage versus the Super Click in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This thing was... I mean, it was just all over the place. Like, I'm not saying it was bad, but I'm also not saying it was good. Like, the moves and stuff were good, but the match in and of itself didn't make a whole lot of sense.
So it was a cluster.
It was a cluster, yeah. The ending was good. Jungle Boy got his revenge concerto on Matt Jackson and got the pin. But the bulk of the match, and there was a lot of, like, again, there was a lot of wrestling logic, as you like to say.
Right.
You know, it's just not a lot of it does a lot of sense. Like, if you're in a street fight, why would you climb scaffolding to try to do a Panama Sunrise when you can just grab a chair and cave somebody's skull in? You know, that kind of stuff. You know, why would you do a shooting star press off the ramp when you could just as easily throw somebody onto the other guys? But I get it. It looked cool. There's a lot of cool moves. It's just that, again, a lot of wrestling logic.
You talking about the shooting star press from Luchasaurus?
Yep. Although they did get a really cool shot after Luchasaurus did that. Then they cut to Jungle Boy, who actually mouths "Holy shit." And then the commentary team's on there like, holy shit is right, kid.
I will admit to, ladies and gentlemen, I did see clips of this stuff. I did see the ending of the main event. And there was one part that in this match I did see, though. It was the, what was it? It was a setup for um it's hard to remember which one it was. It's one of the Bucks got thrown into the ladder, and then it's set up perfectly for Luchasaurus to do the moonsault.
Yes.
And then something else happened like right after that. I don't remember what it was.
I mean,
then I did.
Oh, go ahead. Go.
But then I did see the clip of where Luchasaurus did do the shooting star press onto the people on the ground and everything, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I mean, it looked cool, and I'm not taking away from it. Again, it just doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense, and it takes. Which again, I know it's a Young Bucks match, so
it's just one of those things. It's like, why is somebody that size doing it? But,
well, because he can. But
well, I know he can, but it goes along the sense of like, why would somebody like he's becoming considered one of the best big men in the industry right now.
Deservedly
like,
so.
He's like Bam Bam Bigelow and Mike Awesome and everybody else who could do stuff that you wouldn't think you'd be doing. So, but yeah, you're right. It is a Young Bucks match, and they got to do a lot of high spots and everything else.
But in a way, and I've seen. I don't really know who to blame for this one because I've seen Young Bucks matches that looked very hard hitting. This one, it seemed like there was a lot of it looked more like a dance than a wrestling match. In as much as you can tell when there's cooperation, particularly with Luchasaurus, just because I think there's a size difference and it's obvious that he has to help them because, I mean, Luchasaurus is what, 260? Like, he's a big dude.
Right.
230, 260, somewhere along there. The Young Bucks might be like, they might be 190 soaking wet. And I'm not taking anything away from them, but it's just Adam Cole's stuff looked really good. I'll say that much. Christian's stuff looked really good for the most part. Jungle Boy, I mean, everybody looked good. It's just it looked like a Young Bucks match. People popped. I guess that's what's important. But then the next match really was a cluster. Like, to the point of where I think this one was just bad. You had Cody Rhodes and Pac for some reason versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo for some reason.
Well, we noticed over the past few weeks that they've been teaming up and everything else and everything, and I agree. And they set up that match right there in Indy where we were at. This wasn't a pay-per-view match. This was a Dynamite main event at best. And then they're doing this really weird thing where Cody and Pac aren't like gelling, and Cody is either going to turn heel soon and setting up for it, or which I think he might be, because there was this really strange moment where he gets knocked out of the ring and then he's out away from the corner for a very, very long time. And Pac is like, I remember at one point Pac looks over to get a tag after they spent the entire match tagging themselves in because they don't want the other person in the ring, apparently. But then Pac needs a tag, but Cody's still fucking around at ringside, except he's obviously fine because he's talking to Arn, he's talking to the doctor, he's not selling, he's just kind of standing there. And then when it's time to go home, then he finally just pops out of nowhere. Yeah. Yep. But then they don't go home. And Andrade, like everyone, nobody came out better after this match than they came in before it. Everybody came out either the same or worse. Andrade, and it wasn't his fault, but Andrade made a little bit of a botch on a spot where he was like going over the rope. And he didn't quite get enough momentum and didn't clear it, so he kind of bobbed there for a minute. And Cody just stands there and waits for him, which I get, but it didn't look good. He made up for it, though, because he did a really cool, I don't even know what you call it, but I call it a triple spinning whatchamacallit from the top rope to the outside. That looked pretty cool.
it makes no sense for Malachi Black to be in this match because he's a solo act. And he's not somebody that Andrade can buy.
I'm gonna assume though that they got the pin on Andrade and not Malachi.
Yes. Yeah, Pac got the pin on Andrade.
Okay. So, but in essence, even though I get what you're saying, it still saved Malachi's character.
Right. Like, it didn't destroy his character, but it was out of character for him, and it's out of character for Pac. Because Pac is the kind of guy, like, he's probably the one person on the AEW roster who would willingly walk into a handicap match rather than accept help.
Right.
It's just it, and especially he obviously doesn't like Cody at all. Like, at best he was tolerating him until he needed him, and then they were cohesive. And then Pac slipped when he was going for the Black Arrow. He didn't fall completely, but he stumbled a bit. Which, again, not trying to shit on him, but this match was not, to me, it didn't belong on a pay-per-view from a booking perspective. Like, the match itself was fine. Like, for the most part, they were a little bit more goofs and screw-ups than normal from these guys. Like, because these guys are usually top-notch. They usually don't make mistakes, but everybody had a little bit of a slip-up. But, I don't know. But like I said, Pac got the win on Andrade El Idolo. And next we had another pretty good match. We had Dr. Britt Baker DMD, defending her AEW Women's World Championship against Ty Conti. And this match went exactly like we predicted. Ty put up a good fight, but she did not win. And there really wasn't, there may have been one moment where it looked like she was seriously going to win, but for the most part, it looked like the doctor was going to win.
Right. And that's why you and I had that conversation at Dynamite about that.
Yep.
And we both decided, we both agreed that if anybody wins the women's title from Britt Baker, it'll be Ruby Soho or Thunder Rosa.
Yep, as of right now. There was a moment where I thought maybe Chris Statlander would be able to win it, but she ended up losing that match. So, and I agreed with that. I think Britt Baker still needs to, because she's so over.
No, I'm not saying that she doesn't need to keep going on as champion. She does.
Well, and
she is over.
And not only that, we're about to crown the first ever host champion. So we don't really need 2 women's title changes right now.
No, and I'm not disagreeing with that either. I'm just thinking like you and I both agreed that if she does drop the belt, it'll be to one of them 2.
Yep.
So,
but then the other contender for possibly best match of the night, just from a storytelling perspective, was CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston. This was good. This was really good.
Shorts, CM Punk.
Fight shorts. But you know what? I like what Punk is doing. He's doing some really subtle things, but it's telling the story. He came out in fight shorts. He's there to fight. He didn't engage with the crowd. He came right down, eyes locked on Kingston. And then Kingston, he gets in the ring and Kingston just immediately backhands him in the face before the bell rings. Cleans it, not literally, but knocks him out. It gives him a work knockout shot. And Kingston's obviously he's wrestling as though he's not trying to win a match. He's trying to hurt him.
Right.
And Punk is wrestling like he's trying to survive for the most part. And then the one part that was strange for me is at one point Punk is going to set up for the go to sleep and he's getting booed. That surprised me. That just goes to show you how over Kingston is. And there are legitimate, I'd say close to 50-50, if not 50-50, Eddie Kingston chance versus CM Punk chance, and I did not expect that.
I would.
Which I'm sorry though, because I love Eddie Kingston. Don't get me wrong, and I liked him. Eddie Kingston might be maybe one of the fastest wrestlers I've ever been okay, I'm a fan. Because the first time he was on Dynamite and came out and started cutting that promo, I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Like, I believe what this guy's saying.
I think I talked about this a couple episodes ago or last episode. I've been an Eddie Kingston fan for most of his career because he used to wrestle for Chikara and all that stuff, and he talked and he worked in Impact as the manager for LAX 2.0, and he's in NWA and everything. I'm like, oh, I love the way he talks.
Yeah.
The way he works.
Give me an Eddie Kingston promo. The only time I've ever been taken out of an Eddie Kingston segment is that bit in Indianapolis when they just cut to him running. And it's probably because I know what that building is. And it just seemed hilarious to me.
And we walked right by that building too.
Yeah, but like it's right next to the livestock show building. And it just cracked me up. Like, why are they there?
You and I, as soon as they showed that promo of them in the parking garage and everything else, I'm like, oh, we walked right by that just to get inside.
Well, and it was funny because when we walked by it, I actually thought to myself, because again, I know what that building is. I'm like, why is that open? It's because they were going to shoot a segment in it.
Well, it was open the last time we were there.
Yeah, I know, but they didn't. Like the lights were on and everything, and like it was
right. Well, that's where all the crew.
Yeah, that's where the people park.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I found that funny, and then they just cut to him running. That shouldn't have been as funny as it was, but it just.
But did you notice though, like who's actually running after him?
I know Ruby Soho was in his corner.
Or she was the one running.
Yeah.
She was like trying to run after him, trying to hold him back. I'm like, Ruby, of all people, you're the one trying to hold him back. Like, I get they have a history because of Chikara and everything. I get it. But it's like, of all people that's going to hold Eddie Kingston back, it's going to be Ruby.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Come on.
No.
Like, I love you, Ruby, but no. Come on.
But anyway, predictably so, CM Punk got the win. But again, this makes all the sense in the world because Eddie is so over right now. Like, as long as they don't put him on a massive losing streak with nobodies, like, he's going to be fine.
Right.
Like, if they start putting him on Dark and he's losing to people like Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, we need to see Eddie get some wins on television. And I think they will.
Well, and that's why I think with who he just now started feuding with, I was like, yeah.
It'll be perfect. Because, again, Eddie Kingston is somebody I could see being world champ. Not yet, but he just needs to... I don't know what he needs. I feel like there's something that's missing, but he's almost there.
Right.
He's almost there. I mean, he's definitely over. Maybe he needs to be TNT champion first, maybe.
Well, he had that chance to do that, and I get why Sammy's got it. I get why Sammy's got it now. I do. But I think Eddie was also a legit threat who could actually do it to win that belt.
Yep. And, that led to the... we haven't gotten there yet. Because there was a surprise. There was a big surprise. And it's funny because we talked about this before, and when it happened, I was like, oh, shit. Finally, he's going to get the recognition he deserves. But that's after the next match. Next match was another cluster, and not in a good way. It was the Inner Circle versus American Top Team in a Minneapolis street fight in which 99% of it took place in the ring.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, and again, I think they're working around limitations of...
for Dan?
Not just Dan, because, I mean, the other guys were impressive. Junior Dos Santos did some really, really good spots, considering I don't think he's been training with pro wrestling all that long. He's just a super athletic dude. And then Andrei Arlovsky was good too. Like they both did very well. But the match itself was kind of just a cluster.
Please say they did a spot with Paige.
What do you mean?
Like,
he got put through a table. Sammy fucked him up.
No, I'm talking about Paige Van Zandt, the girl.
Oh, Paige. I thought you meant Ethan Page.
No.
Not that I can recall.
Okay, it's pretty just been one of those things that, like, somehow some way, like, cause she's been the one running her mouth for top team.
Yeah.
And it's like somehow she'd get involved in the match to try to screw over Inner Circle, but
not that I can recall. Like, she was talking shit, but I don't recall a spot.
Okay.
But anyway, the Inner Circle came out with the win.
I will say this though, I liked the finish.
I liked the finish. I liked the finish a lot. Actually, it was one of the highlights of the match. Along with the aforementioned ladder and table spot with Sammy and Ethan Page. That was a holy shit moment.
The frog splash.
Yeah, that was good.
I liked it because of where they were at
and the date.
Why? Yeah.
Oh, there were a lot of Eddie tributes. CM Punk did Three Amigos. In the FTR Lucha Brothers match, Dax went for the Three Amigos. He got 2. But then Penta stopped him and then did his Three Amigos. And then Phoenix did the shimmy and then went up top and did a frog splash. See, that to me would have been a great finish right there because of where they were
But no, and I get that, but you can't really end the same match the same way.
Right, but this was before I knew what the finish to.
Okay, I get that. Because like, what was I gonna say? Like, I'm not trying to use the wrestler, even though a lot of wrestler people wasn't a real big fan of that movie.
I love that movie.
Well, I get what they say that because I've been behind the scenes and everything. So what they talk about in that movie was, especially with the wrestlers, like, what are you guys doing for finish? And they find out, like, okay, so I know what you're doing, so now we can do what we're doing. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I get it. Did you know that before we finish on, did you know that they didn't even stay in the same hotel?
No.
All the wrestlers stay at the Marriott. Okay. Well, they decided in respect to Eddie, because that's where he died, was in the Marriott there in Minneapolis.
Oh, Minneapolis. Okay. God damn, I was thinking Indianapolis for some reason, but yeah, okay.
His last match was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
They said that instead of staying at the Marriott, they changed their hotel reservations to another hotel, which is right there by the arena, exactly like right across the street. You can walk from the arena to the building and back instead of the Marriott because it was out of respect to Eddie. And I'm like, I like that.
I like that. Sucks for the Marriott, but I like that.
Well, and I'm sure they understood too. Like, okay, we get it. So.
Yeah, they were probably like, but what if we give you a discount on the rooms?
I couldn't have.
I know.
I couldn't have done it.
I'm being an ass. So this leads into the surprise. Jay Lethal is all elite, baby.
He is.
Yep.
And
finally, this guy will get the exposure that he deserves.
You don't think he's got enough exposure?
No, because he's too. I don't mean to say this condescendingly. He's too good for Ring of Honor only. He's too good for Ring of Honor only. He needs to be. So are the Briscoes.
Then I'm sure you read about what happened with that, didn't you?
Which specifically what?
They were at Dynamite this past Wednesday.
I haven't watched Dynamite yet.
No. They were.
Oh, they were in the crowd?
They're backstage.
Backstage. Oh, sure. Yeah, I can believe that.
They were only guests. That's all they were.
Well, they're probably waiting for their contracts to run out.
Well, hell, I mean, Jay Lethal's contract should have been under contract before he went to all AEW too.
I don't think so. Not if he's all elite. He'd have to be free.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm shocked.
Yeah. Well, because remember, Thunder Rosa wasn't all elite until her NWA contract officially expired, even though she'd been on the program for 6 months.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I figured his contract would be one of those contracts that's like that would have went into the next year.
It just depends on when he was signed. But yeah, you would think. But before they made that announcement, he might have been up to re-sign, in November, for all we know.
True.
Don't know, but I'm happy about that because Jay Lethal deserves to be a big name on a big stage because he's that goddamn good.
Yes. And if he doesn't win the AEW World Title, something's wrong.
He's going to eventually. I don't know how fast that's going to happen, but could you we finally get to see things like Bryan Danielson versus Jay Lethal.
Yes.
We get to see CM Punk versus Jay Lethal, potentially. Kenny Omega versus Jay Lethal.
Well, when he comes, we'll get to that point.
Yeah, I hear Kenny's actually going to be undergoing some surgeries.
Yeah. Which we will get to that point in just a few minutes.
Yep.
After I get done with the pay-per-view.
Cover the main event, which was everything I wanted it to be and more.
Which everybody called it.
How could they not? Plus, it seems to me like, and I might be reading too much into this, but it seems like Kenny had slowed down a step. I'm assuming because of some nagging injuries that he's going to take care of. Either that or he was changing his style to wrestle as a heel. I don't know. But Hangman Adam Page won the AEW World Heavyweight Championship from Kenny Omega, and I loved the finish. I thought it was great. Some people didn't like it, but I thought it was fantastic because it shows how good the Young Bucks and the Elite are at long-term storytelling. Because it called back to the beginning of AEW, and if you've been watching since the beginning, you knew exactly what was going on.
Especially when the Bucks were down there and they just gave that nod, like, go.
Well, that's what I said when we were in Indianapolis. I even said with the contract, that's the first interesting contract signing in wrestling I've seen in probably 10 years. Like, that was good. It was so good. And Paige brings up Ibushi, and again, if you've been following Omega, you know exactly what these guys are talking about, and they're doing things that WWE is afraid to do, referencing the past and the past in another company. But that's when the audience audibly started going oh, they're going there.
Yeah, we all heard it that night.
Oh, that was freaking great. And I think the Kenny Omega story arc, as it involves Ibushi, is probably one of the best in wrestling.
Yes,
it's so good. The whole reason Kenny joined Bullet Club in storyline was because Ibushi kept winning, and Kenny felt like he wasn't measuring up. And then they did that spot. I forget what event it was where he's going to, because it was Ibushi versus Styles, I believe. Yeah, it was Ibushi versus Styles. Kenny gets up on the rope to presumably knock Ibushi over, but Ibushi and him lock eyes, and it's just that's so subtle but so damn good.
I love the Golden Lovers.
I like the whole story.
Right.
It's freaking great. And it makes me want to see Ibushi do some appearances with AEW, and really, I would like to see that come to a head. I'd like to see maybe Kenny go back to Japan and have that rivalry.
But he has to be accepted back into Japan.
I think that's possible. Because at the end of the day, say what you will, and I know I make fun of him and call him Twinkle Toes McFingerbang, but just because it's funny. But say what you will, Kenny Omega is a money draw. And I can't imagine New Japan being so prideful that they would, because they brought other people back.
I know.
I can't imagine they would be that anti making money.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just stating because they lost their number one draw.
Right, but whose fault is that? I mean, really, when you get down to it, because Kenny wasn't a sure thing that he was going to go to AEW or even leave New Japan. They were in negotiations. And if I'm Kenny Omega, I can understand why he would want to, go back to the US or at least North America with the opportunity to make, because he very easily could have gone to WWE. And he would have been wasted there, but
right. But look at like I said, look at his first time there.
Well, yeah, but he was in developmental, and that was FCW, and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. It wasn't FCW. You're right. It was Deep South.
Yep.
My bad. Yeah, it was even worse. It was even worse than FCW.
That was the Georgia days.
Yep. But I digress. And I think that whole thing ended up with more animosity because, again, New Japan didn't learn their lesson. Having everyone's contracts expire at the same time is not a good idea. You guys already went through this with Styles, Gallows, Anderson, and Nakamura leaving all at the same time.
Right.
Like, learn your lesson.
But they don't.
I know, they don't. I don't get it. And frankly, I think New Japan should try to buy Ring of Honor.
Huh?
Oh, because imagine if you could have the entire Ring of Honor library on New Japan World.
That's true.
I think they should do it, and then they get their U.S. promotion.
You're right. And this is we're getting back to what I was saying earlier about Kenny. We were talking about Kenny and his injuries, because he is going to be taking time off to get shoulder surgery and everything. Because I just watched the video. Which, weirdly enough, is chiropractor on YouTube. And I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I didn't watch it, but I know what video you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I watched it all the way through and everything. And he talks about his career with Japan and everything else. And he's doing this to get through so he can get to his match with Paige and all that. But, yeah, he's going to have to take some time off. They get shoulder surgery and everything. But what sucks is apparently it's screwing everything up for Triple Mania because he was supposed to go defend the belt again there, and now he's not going to be able to.
Oh yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah, apparently one of the I don't remember which one it was because Conan talked about it on a podcast last night. It was about him, and I remember it's one of FTR that's hurt right now. They're supposed to defend the AAA tag titles.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them's hurt, and now they can't go defend them. And now somebody else is hurt too, and now they can't go good. So it's like.
So, I mean, here's the thing, though. Like, if you're not sure of the recovery time, just have them vacate the belts. And then they can come back and say, I never lost it. The tried and true, well, I never lost this belt. I just had to vacate it because I was injured.
And I'm not disagreeing with that either, but I think it's one of those.
It's unfortunate, but.
Right. Well, I don't think that's something that's ever been done in Mexico.
Possibly. I wouldn't know.
So it's like. And I think the only way that a belt comes off is they pretty much lose the belts, rightfully so, like the right way. That way they can just get out of there thinking what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true because if you have you wouldn't have a world champion boxer vacate a belt because he was injured, you would postpone the fight.
Right.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Actually, does make sense. But then you could do a Mexican FTW angle. I don't know do you know who Kenny's facing for the belt?
It was supposed to be that Vikingo.
Vikingo, yeah. So just have Vikingo. oh, this would be great. AAA, feel free to steal this idea because it would be awesome. So he's Vikingo, right? He's a conqueror. He takes what gold he wants, right? Well,
Right.
he can't get this gold. So fuck that guy. I'm the king. He's too scared. He's using the injury to not. So I'm going to, like, this is the real title, and it can be the Mexican FTW title.
Yeah, but then that would be stealing from Taz when did
Well,
it.
it's not the literal FTW title, but you know what I mean.
Right, but I get what you're saying, but it's like,
Oh, here's a better idea. Come to AEW, win the FTW title, and then defend that at Triple Mania.
it's not
Just-
like saying that. No,
Just ideas.
I get it. I get it.
If they do that though, I'm calling plagiarism.
There's nothing original in wrestling,
True.
so there's no such thing as gimmick infringement,
So-
even though there is.
So Vince Russo wasn't original? I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying it was original. I mean, who? Yeah, that's
Is
that's
that your RD? Is he
original? Yeah. Set the record straight for us. So I need to reach out to him because well, the video's not up yet, so they don't need to know. But suffice it to say, I need to reach back out to RD and figure out a time for that thing. And then I also need to put that video up because I'm way late. But yeah, I might be able to do that today. I don't know. But I'm also probably going to go back to sleep.
Well, here's my question. As everybody knows, we have a contest going on.
Yes. Yes, we do. And I need to post a video about that too. So, fuck.
So
That I will probably do today just to get it up there.
okay.
Well, that was it for Full Gear. So unless you have something to add, I think we can wrap her up.
I think we can wrap her up on that one.
Kick ass. And then, as always, everyone, if you're listening or watching the podcast and you have a topic that you would like us to talk about, feel free to let us know.
Let us know in the comments. Let us know on the Twitter.
You can send, the Twitter machine. You can also send us a voice message if you listen through the Anchor platform, which is a really cool feature, that's why I need to do the video about the contest so I can show you guys how to do that. So that way you can't not win the contest just because you don't know how to do it, because that would be unfair.
So, okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
To quote YouTube star The Critical Drinker, anyway, that's all we've got for today. Go away now.
Well, we can't go away till you do your plugs.
I already did the plugs.
Oh, okay. Okay.